Good day everyone, I am Pearly Quezon and now I will be discussing the strategies in teaching and assessing poetry. Teaching poetry requires creativity and sensitivity because poems express ideas, emotions, and personal experiences. Students understand poetry better when teacher presents lessons in engaging and thoughtful ways. Teaching strategies are planned methods used by teachers to help students learn effectively. These strategies guide how a lesson introduced, discussed, and understood. Instruction should also match students' abilities and learning styles. When lessons are suited to students' levels, they become more confident and interested in learning poetry. So according to Harper 1988, effective poetry teaching helps students enjoy literature as part of the human experience. Poetry allows students to understand feelings, values, and life experiences, making learning more meaningful. Next is we have theoretical foundation in teaching poetry. This idea is based on the humanistic approach, which focuses on the learner as a whole person. It values students' thoughts, feelings, and personal experiences in learning poetry. Instead of rote reading or memorization, students are encouraged to actively interpret poems. They think deeply, ask questions, and share their own understanding of the text. According to Ricker 1976, the meaning of a poem is not fixed. Meaning is constructed by the readers through their interaction of the text to create personal and meaningful interpretation of poetry. According to Harper, teaching poetry involves three important phases. We have preparatory phase. It happens before reading the poem. In this stage, teachers prepare students so they can understand the poem better. This includes introducing difficult vocabulary words, explaining unfamiliar terms, and allowing students to predict what the poem might be about. Teachers may also connect the poem to pictures, songs, or real-life experiences. This is a phase helps students become more confident and ready to read the poem. Second is we have interpretative phase. It focuses on understanding the poem itself. During this phase, students read the poem aloud or silently. Teachers guide students through discussions by asking questions about the poem's meaning, mood, and message. Students are encouraged to share their thoughts, interpretation, and feelings. This phase helps students develop critical thinking and allows them to understand poetry in deeper ways. So the last phase is synthesis phase. It allows students to express what they have learned from the poem. Instead of giving one correct answer, students are encouraged to show their understanding creatively. They may write reflections, draw illustrations, create artwork, or write their own poems. This phase helps students to internalize the poem and express personal meaning. Now, let's proceed to the 6 effective strategies in teaching poetry. So the first strategy is reading the poem aloud. This strategy is very important because poetry is meant to be heard, not just to read silently. When the poem is read aloud, students can hear the rhythm, rhyme, tone, and emotion of the poem. It helps them understand how the poem sounds and feels. Reading aloud also improves students' pronunciation, listening skills, and confidence. Teachers may read the poem first as a model and then let the students read it individually as a group. Second strategy is learning about a poem. Understanding the poet's background helps students better understand the poem. Teachers may explain the poet's life, culture, and time period and personal experiences. This information gives context to the poem and helps students see why the poem was written. Third strategy is defining unfamiliar words. Poetry often uses deep, symbolic, or old-fashioned language that students may not easily understand. If students do not understand the words, they may not understand the poem. Teachers should explain difficult words before or during reading. These strategies help students focus on meaning rather than struggle with vocabulary. So fourth strategy is visualizing images. Poetry uses imagery to create picture in the reader's mind. Teachers can encourage students to imagine scenes, character, or emotion described in the poem. Students may draw pictures, describe what they imagine, or connect the images to real-life experiences. Visualizing images helps students connect emotionally to the poem and understand the scripted language more clearly. So the fifth strategy is teaching figurative language. Poems often use figurative language such as metaphors, similes, personifications, and symbols. This figure of speech give deeper meaning to the poem. Teachers explain these literary devices and show how they are used in the poem. This strategy helps students understand that poetry is not always literal and encourages critical thinking. The sixth strategy is identifying the theme. Theme is the main message or lesson of the poem. Teachers guide students in finding the theme by discussing the poem's ideas, emotions, and symbols. Identifying the theme helps students understand what the poem is really trying to say.
Now, let's proceed to assessment strategies in teaching poetry. A poetry portfolio is a collection of students' poetry-related works that shows their learning and progress over time. Instead of giving only one test, the poetry portfolio allows teachers to see how students understand, respond to, and create poetry. One effective way of organizing a poetry portfolio is through the CRAFT method. So CRAFT stands for collect, respond, act, form, and try. So the first part of CRAFT is collect. In this stage, students gather all their poetry-related works. This may include poems they have read, written analysis, reflections, vocabulary list, and original poems. Collecting these works helps students keep track of their learning and allows teachers to see students' effort and progress over time. So the second part is respond. So in this part, students write or share their personal reactions to the poem. They may explain what they felt while reading the poem, what part they liked, or what message they understood. This stage encourages students to express emotions and personal thoughts, which is very important in poetry learning. So the third part is act. In this stage, students do create activities related to the poem. This may include role-playing, drawing illustrations, performing a poem, or writing a creative response. Acting on the poem helps students engage actively and deeply with the text instead of just reading it. So the fourth part is form. This focuses on the structure of poetry. Students analyze how the poem is written, including its rhyme, rhythm, figurative language, and style. They may also try writing their own poem using a specific form. This helps students understand how poetry is constructed. So the last part is try. So in this stage, students revise or improve their work based on the feedback from the teacher or peers. They may rewrite poems, correct mistakes, or try new techniques. This stage encourages continuous learning and improvement. So the second assessment strategy is teacher and peer conferences. In this method, teachers and classmates give feedback on students' work. Teachers' conferences help guide students and correct misunderstanding, while peer conferences allow students to share their ideas and learn from each other. This strategy builds communication skills and encourages constructive criticism. So the last is we have rubrics and assessment lists. Rubrics clearly show the criteria used for grading, such as understanding of theme, creativity, and effort. This ensures fair and consistent evaluation. Assessment lists help students know what is expected of them. These tools make grading transparent and understandable. So in conclusion, Teaching poetry becomes effective when teachers are used creative strategies and meaningful assessment. In conclusion, effective poetry teaching combines creative strategies and meaningful assessment. When, when students are creatively engaged and guided, poetry becomes more enjoyable, relevant, and easier to understand. This will be the end of our discussion. Thank you, everyone.